So at the end of the day, the more protein you eat, the more muscle you build. Absolutely false. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. And today we're gonna be talking about something that was a very, very popular topic that people asked me to do this week, which was protein. So I'm gonna talk about every single thing that you guys need to understand when it comes to protein, because there's a lot of misconceptions around protein. One being, how much can you actually digest each and every meal? Everyone always talks about, you never wanna go over 30 grams of protein per meal, right? Everyone's heard that common statement before, don't eat more than 30 grams of protein. You're gonna wind up peeing it out. Like, it's gonna wind up going to waste, you know what I mean? Like, we've all heard these things before. So first and foremost, protein is the building blocks that we need to build more muscle mass, guys. So we wanna make sure we definitely have a considerable amount of protein in our diet. How much do we need in our diet? Number one is gonna be 1 gram per pound of body weight is typically across the board a pretty solid number to shoot for each and every day for almost every goal, but each goal does have some subtle nuances. So with that being said, if you're gonna be bulking, you can actually have less protein. A lot of people don't understand this, but when you're bulking, you're not in a calorie deficit. So if you're not in a calorie deficit, you don't necessarily need more protein. You just need just enough to give you guys the building blocks to recover from your exercise and to build more muscle mass, which is 0.7 grams per pound of body weight. And then you can go up to 1 if you just really enjoy eating protein and you like having more protein in your diet. But if you're bulking, you can absolutely get away with 0.7 grams per pound of body weight. On the cutting side, a lot of people like to increase the protein significantly more than bulking or even maintaining. And the main reason for that is to keep you guys full so that while you're cutting, you're not hungry the entire time. However, you can get away with 0.8 to 1.2 grams per pound of body weight when you guys are cutting. As you guys can see across the board, if you hit 1 gram per pound of body weight each and every day, you're gonna be pretty good. So that's like the main point here. And then when you guys are bulking, it's nice to bring the protein down, because the biggest reason that people can't bulk is they can't eat all the calories that they need to actually get bigger. Because when you guys need to bulk, you're eating a lot of food. And the easiest macronutrient to eat a lot of is carbohydrates. So if we eat more carbohydrates, we're more likely to actually get bigger and actually put weight on. So we lower the protein so that we can eat more carbohydrates and get bigger. And then when we wanna cut, we wanna eat more protein so we get more full, and then lower those carbohydrates because we need to eat less calories overall. That's like the main reason for having macros in general, which is a completely different talk, and we've done that in another episode. But how much protein do you need? About 1 gram per pound of body weight each and every day. Some myths that we have. So we're gonna start going into a couple of the myths right now. More is not better. Most people will say the more protein that you eat, the more muscle you will build. That is incorrect. If you eat more protein, you're just gonna wind up not wasting it, but it will be used for energy or broken down into something else at some point. So if you guys eat too much protein, it's not gonna necessarily go towards more muscle. It just might go towards more energy at some point in your body. So with that being said, what does happen when we eat 100 grams of protein in one meal? So I'm gonna go from this myth here is more is not better. We're gonna go straight over to 100 grams of protein in one meal. Your body will use some now and it will use some later. How much will it use right now? Typically around 20 to 40 grams per meal. That is gonna be the upper limit that your body is gonna be using in one point in time. It doesn't mean that you can't digest more than that. We can absolutely eat 100 grams of protein in one meal. We just won't use it right away. So that's the big take home message today. 30 grams of protein is not the end all be all. 30 grams of protein is really good per meal to optimize protein synthesis, which we will talk about in a second, but you can absolutely eat 100 grams of protein in one meal and get away with that. A lot of people do fasting protocols and they'll eat 100, 150, 200 grams of protein in one meal and they're absolutely fine. When it's not wasted, it will be used for energy or broken down into something else. You guys have probably heard of something called gluconeogenesis, which is when it gets broken down into carbohydrates and used for energy. I know that's a little bit complicated for some of you guys, but essentially just a fancy way of saying it's not getting wasted. And then all will be digested. 20 to 40 grams is going to be ideal for muscle protein synthesis, which is AKA our body's ability to recover from exercise and build more muscle mass. That's what muscle protein synthesis is. From there, the amount digested varies per individual. So the size that you are, your weight, your age, how much muscle mass do you have on? That's why it ranges from 20 to 40. If you're a huge human being, probably gonna be 40. If you're smaller, probably gonna be 20. So since we talked about muscle protein synthesis a lot here, what I wanna do is go over here and talk about muscle protein synthesis, because some of you guys are like, well, I wanna hear more about this. So muscle protein synthesis is essential for building muscle mass. It's also essential for your recovery. And this may be higher at higher meal frequency. So now some of you guys are probably asking that question, is it better to just have 100 grams and just bang it out the gate so I don't have to think about it very much throughout the day? Or is it better to have smaller meals throughout the day? Let's break it down. Muscle protein synthesis, while while it is essential for building muscle mass and it is essential for recovery, there's various different ways that we can go about figuring out how many meals we should have per day to optimize whatever our goal is. There's something called leucine. It's an amino acid that helps us break our protein down, and basically there's a limit to how much that you can have in one meal. So there's a leucine threshold in each and every meal. With that being said, it's 2.5 to 3 grams per meal, which works out to be 30 to 40 grams of protein. So every time you guys have a meal and you max out the leucine threshold, you're right around that 30 to 40 grams mark. That's pretty much the most amount of muscle protein synthesis that you're gonna be getting per meal. So optimizing your meals throughout the day by having 3 to 5 meals throughout the day is generally gonna be better than someone who has one giant meal of 100 grams of protein in one sitting. It's not to say that it's significantly better, but it is gonna be better in terms of how much protein that you're gonna be using in that moment. You're not gonna be saving it for later. It's not gonna be getting stored as anything else. It's gonna be getting used in that moment for that meal and increasing muscle protein synthesis to the maximum. Now, leucine initiates mTOR, which is the mechanism that's needed to start muscle protein synthesis. So you don't need to know too much about that, but just understand that we wanna get enough leucine in each one of our meals to initiate mTOR and then initiate muscle protein synthesis. And then when we are in this muscle protein synthesis realm, we are building muscle and we are getting stronger and we are recovering. That's what's most important. We wanna make sure that we're having as much muscle protein synthesis as possible. And to do that is to have smaller meals throughout the day. Now, when it comes to having muscle protein synthesis and having leucine in our meals, what is the best way to do that? Well, the best way to do that is to have high quality protein. Low quality protein would be anything that is incomplete. If it's incomplete, it means that it doesn't have all the essential amino acids needed to be a complete protein. So examples of this, which might help you guys out, is either grains, veggies, beans, a lot of plant-based products, right? So that'll bring us to meat versus plant. Meat is always gonna be better protein because plants are mostly incomplete. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't get complete protein sources from plants, because you absolutely can. It's just that the majority of the great proteins out there that are going to be complete and full of essential amino acids are gonna come from meat products. Now, sometimes with plants, you can mix certain things together, like rice protein and pea protein on the plant side will create a complete protein and give you guys everything that you need to actually be able to have muscle protein synthesis. So meat in general is gonna be better. I'm not putting plant protein down. It's just that meat typically is gonna be a little bit better. Now, being a vegan or a vegetarian, you just have to understand that a lot of the proteins are gonna be potentially incomplete and they're gonna have low leucine levels. So because of that, vegans and vegetarians might actually need to consume more protein than their meat counterpart. So a lot of you guys who are vegan or vegetarian, you're already eating low protein. Like typically, just because of the nature of your diet, you wind up eating less protein. You actually need to be focusing on protein even more than people who eat meat. So I would highly recommend someone in the vegan and vegetarian realm in their diet definitely be getting some sort of a protein supplement. You guys should absolutely be drinking protein shakes for sure. I highly recommend a protein shake that is a complete protein source. If it's just a rice protein or just a pea protein, make sure you guys are getting protein powders that are complete proteins. Look that up each and every time you guys buy a plant-based product. Now, application. Focus on 3 to 5 meals per day. We kind of hit that a little bit. Focus on daily intake. Don't really focus so much on how much protein am I getting each and every meal. It does help in the grand scheme of like how much do I need to eat throughout the day? How much do I need to eat per meal if you're doing like meal prep or something at your house. But you don't need to stress too much on every single meal. I would just stress more about how much am I getting in throughout the day. Focus on quality. So the highest quality proteins are gonna be whey, meat, eggs. These are the top 3. Top 3 is whey, meat, and eggs. This is also the holy grail for weight loss. Every time you guys increase your protein levels, you are increasing your body's ability to stay full. Carbohydrates and fats don't keep you nearly as full as protein. So if your goal is weight loss, or if your goal is to lose body fat in general, you definitely absolutely want to include as much protein as possible. So like we said earlier, you can do 1 gram per pound of body weight, but if you're cutting, you want to lose some body fat, you can increase this to 1.2. You can even get up to 1.5 if you want. But increasing this, always going to make losing body fat way, way easier. This is also the only macronutrient that maintains muscle mass when you're in a calorie deficit. So when you guys are cutting calories and you're consuming less calories than you're burning and you're losing weight each and every day, by increasing your protein intake, it is the only macro. Carbs can't do it, fats can't do it. It's gonna maintain your muscle mass when you're in a deficit. Anytime a bodybuilder is training to go into a competition, they wanna make sure their protein is super high and the rest of their calories are low so they can maintain that muscle and get super lean when they step on stage. Now, another really cool thing about protein is this right here, TEF, thermogenic effect of food. So this is how many calories it takes to actually digest the food. So when you guys eat protein, 20 to 30% of it is wasted just on digestion. So you burn 20 to 30% of it just eating it. Whereas carbs, you're burning 5 to 10% when you eat it, and fats 0 to 3% when you eat it. So not only are you getting more full, you're burning more calories just just by consuming the protein, which is also another reason why it's so good for burning body fat or losing weight in general. Thermogenic effect of food, this is a huge factor. And also because of this is why it's less likely to be stored as fat. So if you eat more protein, because of the thermogenic effect, because you're burning 20 to 30% of it, it's less likely to be stored as fat because they're going to be burning more calories to actually digest it. Now, of all the things that we talked about here, we have one last thing left. If I choose to eat a shit ton of protein each and every meal, and I just want to eat as much protein as absolutely possible because that's what I like. I don't really give a shit, you know, if it's best for my particular goal. I just like eating a lot of protein. I like being carnivore. I like this, I like that. You can absolutely do it. It's not gonna hurt. You know, a lot of people say that it's bad for your kidneys. We didn't really hit this one, but a lot of people will say if you eat too much protein, it's bad for your kidneys. There's been multiple scientists and very, very high level people who just literally focus their entire career on just protein. And they've said that over and over and over again, it is not bad for your kidneys unless you already have a pre-existing condition. By eating more protein, it is not necessarily bad for you at all. So I would definitely not worry about that at all. The only thing is finances. What I mean by that is the more protein that you eat, the more expensive your food bill is gonna be, all right? It doesn't cost a lot of money to buy pasta. It doesn't cost a lot of money to buy macaroni and cheese. It does cost a lot of money to buy 93% ground beef, to buy a filet mignon, to buy like really good fish, to buy even protein supplements. Buying cheap, low quality carbohydrates is by far the absolute cheapest way to live. Like if you could just eat pasta all day long, you would absolutely get a ton of calories and it would cost like nothing. You would also get a decent amount of protein from doing that. However, pasta is what? It is a grain, it is a wheat, it is a low quality protein. So you're gonna feel better when you have whey, meat, and eggs. However, if you are on a budget, you definitely wanna have carbohydrates. It's the main source of your food, and you wanna make sure that you're eating just the minimal amount. Like if you're eating 2-3 grams per pound of body weight, people do it all the time. You can absolutely do it. You just gotta understand it's gonna be a lot more expensive. So a lot of people, when they think about, oh, it's really expensive to eat healthy, it doesn't have to be. A lot of people make eating healthy expensive mainly just because they think they need to eat 2 to 3 grams per pound of body weight. They think they need to eat more protein to build more muscle. And in reality, you don't need to do that. If you get anything out of this video, it means that you don't need to eat more protein to put on more muscle. More often than not, when you guys eat more protein, you're just adding extra calories. But like I said, because of the 20 to 30% thermogenic effect of food, it's just harder to put on body fat when you're eating excess protein. Most of the time when people put on an excessive amount of body fat, it's because of carbohydrates, it's because of excess fat. More than likely not, it's not gonna be from protein. And if it is from protein, it's because you're eating protein that has a lot of fat, like brisket over like filet mignon, or like pork, like really, really fatty pork, or like pork belly, or bacon or something like that. But if you're eating lean meats, almost impossible to put on a significant amount of excess body fat. All right, guys, so that's pretty much everything I have to say today. One thing I do want you guys to go home with right now is if you eat 100 grams of protein in one sitting, if you eat 200 grams of protein in one sitting, it's not a big deal. You can eat more than 30 grams of protein in every single meal. Also, not a big deal. At the end of the day, you're always gonna digest and you're always gonna be able to use all of the protein that you consume. It just might not be right away. If you are on a budget, make sure you're not having excess amounts of protein in your diet because it's just unnecessary amount of money that is being spent. You can get away with 0.7, 0.8 grams per pound of body weight just fine. More is not better. It is not bad for your kidneys. Focus on 3 to 5 meals per day, mainly just because it's gonna give you better muscle protein synthesis. You're gonna get better leucine values. You're gonna initiate mTOR, and you're gonna have better muscle building qualities. You're gonna be building more muscle, more quality muscle, more efficiently throughout the day. So at the end of the day, the more protein you eat, the more muscle you build. Absolutely false. All right, guys, so that's everything that we have right now on protein. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please let me know in the comments below any other topics that you would like me to have in the future upcoming episodes. If there's anything that I left out here that you have some interest in, you're a little bit curious about something, please comment below and I'll absolutely get to that. Otherwise, in the meantime, thank you so much for coming back to the channel. The channel has been growing very, very fast over the past couple of months. We went from like 20,000 subscribers to like 110,000 subscribers now. So guys, thank you so, so much. And the more of you guys that subscribe, the more of these videos I'll be putting out and the more quality I'll be putting into these videos. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And guys, if you go to the gym and you don't have a workout plan, what are you doing? Make sure you're not wasting your time in the gym. The whole reason I exist is to make sure that you guys are not going to the gym and wasting your time. I want to make sure you guys are going to the gym, maximizing every minute, maximizing every set, maximizing every rep. So to do that, you guys have to go to chalkperformancetraining.com, get yourself a free trial of the Chalk Performance Training app. And if you guys need help with your nutrition as well, because I know a lot of you guys need help with your nutrition. A lot of you guys got the training stuff on lock, but your nutrition stuff is not so great. We want to make sure that we're optimizing optimizing all these things in our nutrition, optimizing the way that we reach our goals, whether it's to cut body fat, whether it's to build muscle, whatever it is. We do custom meal plans as well. And if you guys get the app, you will get an insane discount on a meal plan at checkout. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one.